This final problem is comparing if you bought a car outright versus if you lease a car to own, which is often an option when you go to buy a car. So I went looking at car ads, and we have an advertisement here to buy a 2024 Prius. Um, and I'm laughing because I just noticed something. Um, the picture says 319 a month, and I accidentally typed 329 a month. I'm going to go with the picture over my problem. You never know when you're going to have little typos like that. Um, all right. So basically, what the car, if I leased this car, you would pay $319 per month for 36 months. And but there's still like a down payment, and that down payment is $2,999. And now it does have this little like asterisk if you read the fine print, and I read the fine print, and it tells me that if I drive more than 12,000 miles per year, I'm going to be charged a little extra for driving the car more. Um, and so if I have a long commute, that's something to keep in mind because that means that my if I'm budgeting for this car lease, like my payments are probably going to actually be a little extra. And then we're also told that at the end of the lease, there's this fee. Now, at the end of a lease, you can choose to then buy the car you've been driving. And so you could just then purchase the rest of the car for $19,789. That's what they call the residual value. So now let's say instead I chose to just buy the car for its list price at 27,000. At the end of this 3-year period, I could sell the car for that residual value. And so the question becomes, is it more expensive to lease the car or buy the car outright? I'm going to give you a hint without doing any math whatsoever. It's always cheaper to buy the car outright. Because with leasing and the loans type of situation, you're paying interest. And so that's why car companies like you to do that because they make extra money off of you versus if you just pay the cash up front. But let's go through and do the math because, well, this is math class. And so, um, if we want to lease the car, so we would have that $2,999 down payment. So this is our down payment. And then we would pay $319 a month for 36 months, for three basically years. And then we would have $350 fee at the end of our term. And so over the course of that 3-year period, we would have paid $14,833 for the car. And obviously, if I wanted to then buy it outright, I would have to pay another $19,789. And this is just sort of extra. I'm going to put it in blue here. So I would have to, I'd spend the extra $19,789. And so it would actually cost me a total of $34,622 to buy the car. So it is more expensive. Like that's already, I can just quickly look at that and go, it's about 7,000, it's about more than 7,000, about 7,000 more um, to lease the car. Um, So this is, if I bought it. But what I really care about is that, this is this 14,000 that I spent on the loan because if I buy the car outright, we said, okay, so that would be $27,950 and then I could sell it for that 19,789. So over the course of that 3-year period, I would only end up having paid $8,161 for the car. So it is a lot cheaper. So buying is the least expensive option. But here's the easiest reason why I wouldn't outright buy the car. I don't have the money. If I don't have $27,000 in cash, I can't buy the car outright. And so the lease gives me this option of I only needed to produce $3,000, and then I just need to find somewhere in my budget about $320 a month to pay for the car. And for a lot of us, that's just more reasonable. And so that's why we have car loans and car leases. And we're going to look a little more at loans and how we can sort of calculate what we're paying in interest versus, the car and, what makes a good loan versus a buy loan. But just, something to keep in mind is not always is the cheaper option better? Because sometimes, yes, we do need to sort of pay over less over a long term, even though in the end we pay more. Hopefully, we know a little bit more about budgeting and we feel like we can make slightly smarter decisions now.